As you can tell, for the past couple days, I've been really focused on next gen, PlayStation 5 and Xbox. I found this article by Digital Trends a few days ago by Giovanni Calentino. Again, Giovanni coming in clutch with the articles. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X restocked drama shows consoles should not have launched in 2020, and I can't agree with that statement enough. They pushed these consoles out clearly for money. It was very obvious it wasn't for the fans, and we're gonna look at a few examples brought up in the article that I thought are really good points, and I'm gonna throw a little 2 cents food for thought in there. It's just how I'm feeling about the consoles and what I'm personally going through and kind of thinking about, as well as we're going to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. So this is gonna be a longer talk show episode, and as always, if you do like the video, please leave a like, as that lets me know what kind of content I should make. I have noticed the likes on the anime videos, and that's why I'm splashing in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
We're now 3 months past the PlayStation 5 and Xbox XS launch, but finding a new console hasn't gotten any easier. That's true. Restocks remain sporadic, forcing players to stalk retailers in hopes that they can grab a system in the 1 minute time window that's available. I wish it was just a 1 minute time window. It is more like 10 seconds. The situation isn't much better for those who actually have managed to snag one. That I disagree with. If you have one already, you are in a way better position than the people who don't have. It doesn't really make sense to me. The day one honeymoon has slowly faded away, and a harsh reality is starting to set in. As more and more games get delayed, PlayStation 5 owners are left wondering when they'll even play a Sony exclusive again. The pickings are even slimmer for Xbox Series X owners, but emphasis on Xbox has it even worse, and you're gonna hear that throughout this article. There's no better indication of how unprepared Sony and Microsoft were for this console cycle than the ongoing restock drama. Consoles have been nearly impossible to come by since they launched in November. Relief isn't on the way either. Microsoft says that it expects console shortages to continue until at least June. Players who want an Xbox Series X could be doing the same song and dance through most of 2021, which is a retail nightmare. I pulled this just to show that Microsoft is expecting at least till June. I can't imagine what Sony's doing. And if you haven't checked out my video that I posted yesterday, I talked about all the major game delays, another Giovanni article, and I argue, why would a game dev and a team who's making a game release their game on time when the sales are going to be incredibly low because we all don't have consoles to play them on? But I do have 2 more theories I do want to run by you after we get done the article. June, that's insane. Sony and Microsoft have both stated that the demand was unprecedented. I'm calling the bullshit on this. They knew what they were doing. They did it for the money. Market analytics predict that the industry will have made upwards of 179 billion once the final tally is complete. And that number alone justifies why they released them half-baked as they did. And when you take into account things like Xbox Series S, which isn't even truly next gen, just to tap in to that 179 billion market share. It's just a shame what's going on at the start of this generation. Both companies should have been prepared for high demand, of course, but the pandemic presented unique challenges. I get it, I really do. I am super sympathetic. The big story of the year comes in the form of AAA game delays. At this point, most of 21's biggest games have shifted around, while others like Ratchet & Clank Drift Apart don't even have a set release date, meaning PlayStation 5 owners won't have a major exclusive for months at this point, which as a Sony fan, we are not accustomed to. So it's hard for me to kind of sympathize here. We've been so lucky and fortunate being PlayStation fans. Third-party games aren't likely to fill the gap either, as the next few months are desolate beyond 2 or 3 highlights. The situation is even more dire for Xbox Series X owners. Halo Infinite was said to be the console's big launch game before getting delayed an entire year. The system ended up launching with few real exclusives. What they mean by real is that high-tier quality AAA title, only getting its first in January with the Medium. Granted, Microsoft is more focused on creating a strong ecosystem with the Xbox Game Pass, but the Xbox One currently accomplishes that task well, which again, I kind of have to defer you to my last video because I talked about those 2 things, the Medium and the Game Pass. Just go check out that video if you want a better breakdown, but I will give props for Microsoft finally delivering on the promise of playing a new game at launch. At least you have something, Xbox. Players are left in a situation where they're struggling to get consoles that won't be be able to do much until who knows how long. April, July, November. The timeline is entirely unpredictable as games and next-gen updates continue to drift into the horizon. It's sad, but true. There are dope games you can play for these new consoles that I think the author here is not taking into account. Like, personally, I do want to play Temtem, but I can't. That sucks. So to wrap that up a little bit, June seems to be like a date that maybe things will get better. It seems that Xbox has it worse than PlayStation, even though I personally think PlayStation's problem is way more demanding and problematic, if that makes sense. They don't have enough consoles. They're not out. We can't get them, or they're somewhere and we can't get them. I find that more of a problem than Xbox not having games, because it's been about 10 years since Xbox doesn't have real games. So I'm really used to that. I really don't care. But my two theories before we move on. Number one, this kind of shit is making us want to go get PCs. I already know a friend of mine is building a PC. Not necessarily because the console shortage, you couldn't get one, but it is the ultimate gaming machine if you want to do the most with gaming. I am someone who prefers to have a controller in hand, which you can do on PC, but also I do work on the computer, and sometimes I want to just play a game and be away from the computer, and that's why I like consoles so much. Plus the exclusive. I don't want to wait a year and a half before a PC port. But the fact is that we can't get next-gen consoles, and Xbox players, again, they don't really care because they probably already have PCs, is actually pushing some of us Sony fans to just go make a PC. That's not good for Sony. My other theory, and this is kind of a stretch, but they released the consoles not only for the money, but to make this an elitist market. Gaming has usually been for all. Now it kind of seems like the newest Prada bag. They only make 500 of them, and it's only famous and really rich people who get them. And everybody else has to wait. Even if they have the money, they want to buy it. A status symbol, elitist type of thing. It's just a theory. It's just how I'm feeling. Unless it was a strategy and you're hiding behind what's going on in the world. Though I am very sympathetic to what's going on. I do understand it did cause a lot of problems and still continues to do so. But something seems fishy with this. This unpreparedness on these huge companies with all of that money seems a little bit too coincidental. I have a feeling this could be a major shift in how gaming as a whole industry works and where it's moving to in terms of like the technology and who that's accessible for. Just my thoughts, my personal opinion, food for thought. Tell me what you think about the article. Are you considering building a PC? Do you think Sony or Xbox has it worse? I'm a Sony fan. I think Sony has it worse because Xbox has already been worse. But let's move on to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show.